Welcome to the Audiobook Lovin Series, a month-long event celebrating the authors and narrators that bring romance stories to life. Listen along as Viviana, Enchantress of Books, interviews your favorite writers and voices, shares special guest posts, and stay tuned for some special information at the conclusion of the episode.
Hi, everyone. Today, I have the pleasure of chatting with guest narrator John Hartley. Welcome back to Audiobook Lovin, John. How are you?
I'm very, very well, Viviana. It's a real pleasure to be back. Thanks for inviting me back.
I know it's been about a whole year, so we have a lot of stuff to catch up on,
Yeah,
which is going to be fun.
lots happened.
Yes, but for those that are new to the Audiobook Lovin family, John has been here, as I said, last year, around the same time frame for last year's series for June, aka Audiobook Month. And so I will be including the link to that episode so you guys can all catch up, where we talked about and discuss things like the process, your favorite accents, routines, etc. So today we're literally just going to be hanging out and catching up on all things John.
Nice. Love it.
Yes. With that said, though, because I am kind to my listeners, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been narrating and how you became a narrator, real quick?
You bet, just to catch everyone up. So
Yep.
I've been a narrator for about 11 years. So coming on, yes, because I did it straight after I left drama school back in 2011. So we're now 2021, so about 10 years. I love it. It's one of my favorite things. And I just really love how much the industry is growing. I think it was quite niche originally, and people were just, it was quite hard to just carry a pack of CDs or cassettes around. But now it's with Audible, with all the different apps, it's the easiest thing to do. And I love the romance genre. Really, I love it. And there are so many different worlds, so many different characters, so many different styles that I've really had the honor and pleasure of narrating during my my career as a romance narrator. That it's really wonderful, and I just see the industry getting better and better and better, and audiences getting more and more discerning, really building up the kind of things that they like, but also branching out and trying different genres or different worlds. It's a real thrill to see how things are moving forward. And Viviana, you're right at the heart of it. I love how you're really pushing the industry forward. It's really special.
Oh, thank you. I just love the community and the industry so much that it's one of those, how can you not share it?
Mm.
And you guys are always great, and the authors are fantastic, and the listeners, it's just a lovely community. But thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, you've been narrating for quite some time now. What aspects of the audiobook community has surprised you the most?
The loyalty, because often in other forms of entertainment, people will flip between one style of TV show or one network or one film genre or whatever. But really, the loyal fan base for romance audiobooks is really, really impressive. Just how much they care. And there's a sense of ownership, I think, that, the listeners have as much input into the industry as the narrators and even as the authors. I mean, the authors are really the kind of the creators, and without them then there wouldn't be an industry. But there's a really lovely partnership between the writers, the narrators, and the listeners, just how we each feed each other and learn from each other and build each other up and respond to each other. That's surprising. I think on TV, on film, it's a little bit one directional from the producers, and then this is what you can watch on TV. I think it's changing a little bit with more audience feedback on social media or algorithms or whatever. But from the get-go, I think that, especially for romance audiobooks, there's been such a lot of emphasis put on what listeners want and like and respond to. And that's really beautiful to see. Important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely a community that feeds off each other in the
Mm.
positive way.
Yeah, oh yes, exactly. Because I think you're right. With some social media, there can be elements of toxicity for, especially like online specific communities, whether it's stuff on Reddit or 4chan. People can just be for no reason cruel to each other in a way that they would never do in real life, but they somehow feel that there's a bit of a veil with the internet. But I feel, I don't spend a ton of time online on, Reddit forums for audiobooks. But from what I gather, it's just love. That's just, lifting each other up, saying, "Oh, you should check out this guy. Oh my God, this narrator's fantastic. I hear this new audiobook by so and so's coming out. Yeah, I can't wait." Just pure positivity. Like never, ugh, I didn't like that guy, or oh my, it's you never get that. They'll be honest with their feedback, but it's all positive.
Yeah, no, we've tried to harvest a way to provide reviews in a
Mm,
way that is still providing the critique, where if there's a lack of consistency on something,
mm,
or if there is um, poor character development, stuff like that, where it doesn't come across as an attack. It's just literally like, for me, it would have been XYZ better, and it's just, I think this is one of the rare communities that still does that. And even when we don't like a book for a particular reason, whether it's the trope or the genre, we have friends that do. And
mm.
and we will turn around
Yeah.
and say, listen, this had, okay, it doesn't happen to me, but in other, I've heard this has too much sex, so I think you're gonna like it. Or it has too many bad words, so you're gonna, and so even those type of reviews sell books.
Yeah,
So yeah,
sure.
it's a
But
great
it's
community.
never kind of trying to break people down. It's always constructive criticism.
We all, yeah, I think with anything there's always a bad apple here and there, but those situations are so far and few in between, and not as loud as the positivity.
Yeah,
So
huge.
that's always a good thing. Because I also don't want to paint it that we're all this perfect kind of community, so that we have our bad eggs and our bad
Mm.
apples, but for the majority of the times, it is a really great community that strives to be positive and supportive across all different genres, regardless of the tropes, and all that stuff, and regardless of what people may like. So that's always a good
Completely.
thing.
Because it would be so easy to like judge,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this is a bad genre. Oh my God, what a weird, that stuff is so negative. But I don't think any of that comes in. We all have our own personal tastes and
Mm-hmm.
preferences. Um, but I don't, at least as far as I can tell, there's not a ton of judgment that goes on. You're
Mm-mm.
bad because you like this, or, you're weird because you like that.
No,
It's,
yeah.
it's all respectful, which is
Mm-hmm.
what it's all about.
Yeah, and I think also too, the romance itself has become this entity, a community where you get to discover new things, and so that judgment is not there, because we're all in some form of discovery,
So
whether
true.
we like a kink, whether we like a type of genre where we figured out, who I actually like to bake, I might be able to make a career out of this, and stuff like that. But even with oneself images and stuff, so it's very helpful, and that, to think, because that's the type of community that we're trying to condone and embrace and rise up, that everybody's in the same field. So that's
Oh,
always
I
a good
love it.
thing. Yeah.
I love it because I didn't think about that, but that element of discovery to
Mm-hmm.
realize I didn't know I was into this particular thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's really a special thing that you might happen across this, um, subgenre or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and then think, wow, okay, God, I didn't know that I wanted this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that can be really fulfilling. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's anything from, there's some books that include some recipes or travel, and the authors do a phenomenal job with describing stuff, and the idea of going to a new place or trying a new meal or a new wine or beer, but also things like having the conversations with your partner to potentially have some extracurricular activities during some
Yeah.
fun times.
Yes, 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 absolutely. Because why not?
Why not?
Why limit yourself just because of what you've been told? I think that's
Hmm.
awesome to explore, develop. Yeah,
Lots of fun. And then, of course, your book friends are like, so how'd that go? And you're going, it went
yeah,
fine, thanks.
yeah, exactly.
The wine was lovely.
Yeah,
Because that's what we're talking about, right?
uh-huh.
With all this stuff, and the different types of characters and the genres and stuff like that, from those that you have portrayed, what has been your favorite type of character to play?
So I've been doing this series recently called the Accidental Peers series by Diana Quincy, and there's about 5 books so far. There are a couple of things that I really like about it, and a lot of series have this as well. It's cool when each book comes at the story from a different perspective. that's so interesting to me when, you tell the same story, but this one's from the perspective of one brother. Then this is the perspective of his wife. And then this is the perspective of that's because I think we all in life, can experience the same thing in completely different ways. The time period is also cool. It's set in Regency England with, all the lavish ballrooms and the nervous bridegrooms and the steamy bedrooms. And that vibe is really, really fun. And yeah, I just think that series has been really cool. And then I did a wrist. Yeah, I think I like the historical ones, whether it's the Scottish Highlands, or Regency England, or kind of colonial America or something. Those historical things are cool because it's a real world that the authors can really do their research and bring to life, but then also introduce the kind of fantasy, imaginative elements that are really, really absorbing. Those are really fun. And then different accents, different English accents, different European accents, American. It's just, I love it when there's a ton of range of different characters.
Yeah, and you have a phenomenal range where I know that we did a little bit of that last year, and I was going, crap, his American is really good.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And you've actually been doing a lot more historical, because that's something too that you had said last year that you wanted to do more, that you just hadn't been cast. And now look, a year later, you have a bunch of historical, and I know a couple more that are popping in.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Thanks to you, Viviana, getting the word out there. The historical ones are just cool. I was a history major in college, and it's what's interesting. One of the things I like is we always have a sense that something that happened in the past was inevitable. Like it had to happen. There was no other way that history could have happened except the way that we read about in the textbooks. But sometimes just a little bit of luck, or a chance occurrence, or something really random happening can turn the tide of history. And it's interesting in historical fiction when you get a sense of, wow, things could have been really different if this guy hadn't met that woman, or, that ship had arrived tomorrow, the next day, rather than a day early. That stuff's really, really cool. It just gets you thinking, my gosh, what if, gets you thinking about now as well. What if I hadn't met this person when I was, walking down the street? Or what happens if I hadn't met that person walking down the street? I like that sense of, possibility and infinity.
Yeah. Is there from a character perspective, do you like to play, like, I know some of you guys like to do more like the bad guy, or the alpha, or the guy next door too? Then do you have a preference for some of those types of characters?
Well, look, probably every actor says they'll love the bad guy, and it's true. I love the bad guy. In romance, it's not so, because if you're a bad guy in a romance thing, you're kind of generally really dislikable. But they are interesting. They're just so interesting to play. And then in terms of them, I'm not particularly. My voice is generally, from what I hear from casting directors or from audiences, whatever, tends more towards the leading man type thing. But I'm not, I only play the leading man, the alpha types. Like, I'm not really, that doesn't really interest me. Because sometimes those, in the industry, they're sometimes called the thankless lead, where they don't really go on a big journey. They're there just to carry the story forward while all these other interesting people do interesting things around them. So sometimes, the main alpha lead guy is not the most interesting character in the book or the TV show or the film. So I just love them all, and it's what interests me more than anything is the journey a character goes on, finding that arc, so that he starts somewhere at the beginning and something happens, and seeing how he or she responds to all these events and these people, and then comes out the other side. That journey is really what motivates me as an actor. And it's with audiobooks absolutely the same. And I'm lucky that the books that I read, every single one has a really cool arc like that. And the characters undergo some kind of development and change. Yeah, yeah, yeah. One other thing, because sometimes these alpha guys, I think we sometimes think of them as almost invincible, like you can't change them, like resistant to change or something. But sometimes those are the best ones, where they have this really tough exterior, but then they keep going, keep trying to fight and something, but then they have to accept some part of themselves, or accept something in someone else, and then they undergo some change for the better. That's really interesting. That's really beautiful. That struggle and, no, I'm not going to change, and then all of a sudden they realize that they have to change in order to move forward. That's beautiful.
Yeah. And even in romance, we have those kinds of characters that are the hard asses and the lead, or the motorcycle guys, or even the billionaires that are
Mm.
considered to be cold hearted, except to that one person, the
Yes.
heroine. And we even now have a lot more anti heroes, which are technically the bad guy, or they do things a little, mafia. Uh,
Yes, yes, yes,
and they
yes.
will kill anybody that comes anywhere near you.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
so we probably wouldn't really root for them in real life, but hey, in the books, it's fine.
yeah. Well, look, that's what this is all about. Just, taking a break from reality, just enjoying something and getting refreshed by it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Mhm. So now that you've done all these books and all these years of narrating, I had a friend, Brittany, who had a great question. I was like, "Oh, that really is really good." She says, if they're curious, if you have found a difference between how British authors portray British heroes compared to American authors that write the British heroes.
Oh my God, Brittany. Brittany basically crushed it with that question.
Mhm.
What a great question, Brittany. Yes, for sure. I'm sure that that's the case. I think you're just going to have a much more nuanced, probably balanced understanding of British men if you're from Great Britain. Whereas if you're American, even if you visited Great Britain or you have English friends, um, just the way we're portrayed in the media is just romantic and charming and Hugh Grant-esque. And, that's not reality.
Mhm.
Um, Look, that's not the reason we shouldn't listen to audiobooks. Audiobooks are about the fantasy. So I'm not saying that's a bad thing, um, but actually, that said, Diana Quincy really did. She's American, and she did really wonderful work, purely portraying very English society in a very nuanced, niche aspect of English society. So she is obviously very, very clever. Really did her research, because the thing she was able to do as well is really grasp the language of how native Brits speak. Because sometimes, if you haven't really got it in your ear, or you haven't spent a lot of time in England, um, the nuances of how we chat with each other, the words we use, the phrasing, the speed, the rhythm, is a little bit hard to get. Um, so look, so it's absolutely entirely possible, and frequently happens, that these great authors are able to really create create authentic English characters. I mean, like, I don't know about English men, because I don't really, because I'm an Englishman, so I don't really know how to answer that, because I don't really look at other Englishmen and think, oh, well, he's like this.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I'd be really interested to hear what Brittany thinks about that.
Mhm.
Because she obviously, I bet she's got some thoughts and some ideas. Because that's such an interesting question.
Yeah. Well, I think it's because romance tends to be a fantasy, a lot of people will write about things that they may not have experienced, like,
Of course.
jumping off an airplane. Um,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
but when it comes down to some of these characters, they will do research on the locations, well, some, and even the kind of accent. If it's a British accent, well, where in London, is it a London, is it a Cockney, this and that. But when it comes down to some of these characters, I think part of it too is that we have this, like you said, we have this fantasy of what a British man is,
Mm.
and so it was always that question was something I'm like, that is, a good question, because we all have different ideas what we think of when we think British guy, but also from a knowledge perspective. But at the same time, I don't think that we can always tell if the author is British or not.
No, I
So,
think that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. That these books are so well written that
mhm.
quite often you can't tell. I've
Yeah.
never really been able to. I'm trying to think. I've never had the experience of reading an audiobook and thinking that's nonsense. No one would ever say that.
Mhm.
Um, I've had it in other media, film and TV or something, where you're like, oh, that doesn't ring true, but I can't really say anything. But not in
Mhm.
audiobooks. It must just be because they care so much that they
Mhm.
really spend a lot of time and pride making sure that it's authentic and accurate. Because
Mhm.
the last thing an author or a narrator wants is for the audience to think, wait, hold on, I don't buy this, and then take them out of the story. That's the worst thing you can have. So narrators and authors in particular really make an effort to make sure that it's as authentic as possible and just sounds really believable.
Yeah. So now, Brittany, you're gonna have to get with John on
Yeah.
either Instagram or Twitter and just have that chit chat conversation.
Yeah. I'd love to hear I'd love to hear what Brittany thinks.
Yeah.
I bet she has her own thoughts.
Uh-huh.
I bet she, yeah. I'd be very interested to hear. Very
Yeah.
interesting.
Very cool. Which do you prefer, multicast audio, a duet, or solo, and why?
I love the solo, just because I like to be in the limelight. I'm joking. But the thing about the solo ones is that you just get to do everyone. Um, so you just have complete freedom just to create the world, obviously alongside the author and what he or she's written. Um, I really like the solo ones. The duets, by the duet you mean where I'm going to be reading all the male lines, and then if there's a female co-narrator, she'll be reading all the female lines. Is that right?
At the same time, yeah, like a regular, almost like a play situation or a
Yeah, like a
movie.
radio
Yeah.
play. I've
Mm-hmm.
only done one of those, and look, it's good because that's much more in the world of like film, TV, theater acting, where you have a scene and you're responding to each other. So that's much more in that world. Um, and I've only done one of those, and I think it went well. I think it was cool. Um, and then the kind of co-narrating one where you're like the dual narrating one, because I
Mm-hmm.
work with a lot of actresses over and over, like Stella Bloom, and those are really nice because you start to get a sense of what their voice is going to be. Um, and I think it's probably really interesting to hear again the different perspectives. So if there's one chapter from a man's perspective, then one chapter from a woman's perspective on exactly the same interaction, that's really, really cool. So that's really effective. But overall, yeah, I think the solo ones. I like the solo ones the best.
Yeah. Well, you get the whole shebang, I guess, from that
Yeah,
perspective. Because the other
exactly.
ones, you're only getting half the story,
I
you
know.
know. And
And
then
you
you're like,
read. I always read their chapters as well,
yeah.
just to get a sense of, because that can really impact how you're going to characterize another character if they express themselves and their thoughts in a certain way. Um, that's always going to really, really change how you interpret a character, is their inner thoughts and their response to certain situations. So, yeah, even
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not narrating that specific chapter, I'll definitely read it just to get a sense of what he or she is undergoing and how they're responding to certain things. Um, Also, just because the authors put so much time and effort into writing it, um, it's not there for no reason. They do it because it really impacts on the story. So the best way to tell the story in the fullest way is to get everybody's perspective. That reminds, I don't know if some narrators just read their own chapters, but it's a little bit like film and TV actors who are just waiting to say their line. So you often hear in drama school, you just don't want to be the kind of actor who's just like, my line, my line, my line, blah, 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 blah. My line, my line, my line. You want to have everything working together, and bouncing off each other.
Yeah.
Not just, but then I did say I do like the solo ones. So
Well, from an acting perspective, I think you have utter control on how everything is done when you're the only one narrating it.
for sure. That's
And
absolutely right. Yeah.
yeah, and I think that that's something that a lot of creatives have, that sense of need of control,
Yeah.
just to fulfill it. Plus the whole vision and of what it would be like and things like that. You mentioned narrating with like Stella Bloom and learning their cadence and stuff like that when you do the dual narration. Have you been keeping that in mind more now that you've done more of these types of books when it comes down to voicing the female characters when you've already have an idea of what the female narrator cadence is?
You know, I think what's interesting is that because they're all such good actresses, the ones that I co-narrate with,
Mm-hmm.
I really have a sense that they'll be picking up on the same things that I'm picking up on when they're creating their character. So the source material is the same, but then beyond that, in terms of their, their specific characterization, the pitch and the mode of their voice, I really really pay attention to, and we're often exchanging samples as well. So before we start recording, I'll send say Stella a version of my lead character and some of the his father, and then his best friend, just so she has a sense of how to differentiate them, because what you don't want is obviously the best friend to sound in my thing, very kind of slow and high pitched and, dumb or something. And then she happens to make him, you know, really fast pitched and very intelligent and kind of villainous or something. That's just going to be confusing to listen to. And same with her, when I listen to her characterizations to get a sense of pitch, of rhythm, of accent, for example. So we'll trade off and exchange samples before we start recording. But yeah, I really do think the more you work with a co-narrator, the more you get a sense of, I think I know what they might do with this. And then when you receive the sample, you're like, yes, that's exactly what I would have done. I think that choice is spot on. And you just really but it's very collaborative. Whatever happens, you're just making sure that the whole thing works as a whole together.
I think it's important for the listener's perspective too, because we when we're reading a book, we can always flip back a page to figure out who is talking.
Mm-hmm.
In an audio, that's a little bit harder.
Yeah, you just don't want to have any guesswork. You
Yeah.
don't want to have to think, wait, who is this guy?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, I thought that they were like 60. Now they sound like they're 20. Yeah, you want to avoid that. Keep everyone just immersed in the story.
Of course. Yep. So, what motivates you to work so hard?
um, I think above all, pride. Not pride in one of the seven deadly sins, but I just take such pride in what I do. And I just care so much about what I do that I just can't bear the idea of it not being the very best that I can do. Because look, honestly, I bet you can get away with some stuff, a little bit of phoning it in here and there, or not really focusing, or just, oh, I don't think I'm going to read this book really closely. I'll just skim it and, whatever, just kind of. And then it's just never going to be as good as if you put in the work and sit down. And even after a long day, you just put in an hour just to make sure that you've really got the best work ready to record. I just can't even bring myself to imagine doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Then, of course, people are paying money. If I go to a restaurant and I'm paying $40 for a meal or something, and it comes out and it's bad, that's just going to boil my blood because I've worked hard for that money. And, someone spending $20 on an audiobook, $30, or they've got their monthly subscription with Audible, and it's like, pretty second-rate novel, that would make me livid. Why? So I would never want someone to waste their money on something that I've done. And then, just giving respect to what the authors created, because they've put their time, their money, their effort, their tears, their sweat, their everything into creating this book from nothing. And what a disrespectful thing. And if an actor then just thought, oh, whatever, it's just a paycheck. What a horrible thing. So yeah, I would, in everything I do, I could never bring myself to half-ass it. Otherwise, why even bother?
Yeah. Similar. I'm like, I don't ever half-ass anything. It's not
Yeah.
in me.
Yeah, I just don't really understand that. And it's ultimately it's self-defeating anyway, because people are eventually going to cotton on and think, well, I mean, I think we'll move on to a different actor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, but mostly it's just I can't bear that something sub. Look, who knows? Maybe people don't like my work, um, but the all I can do is just do the very best job that I can do, and just people know that the John Hartley title is I've just given 100% to it. Um, yeah, and
And
that's all we can really do.
yeah, and that's important from a listener's perspective too, that we can tell that it wasn't being phoned in,
Oh my
as we like to
god!
say. Yeah.
Oh,
So
how horrible!
yeah, sometimes it happens, but
Sure.
that's also where we speed the thing up or move on to the next book. So
Yeah,
it is.
but annoying if you to spend $25 on it. Crazy.
Yeah, I know. That's where the review comes in or the conversation with
Mm.
the author and says, "So about casting your next book."
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
Let's not work with this one
sure.
again. So it happens. So Michelle submitted a couple of questions because Michelle, the start, is also a huge fan of yours.
Oh, thanks,
And
Michelle.
she wants to see it. She says, if you weren't a narrator, what would you be doing?
Oh, wow, interesting. Well, if I weren't an actor in general,
Mm-hmm.
I might well be a lawyer or something. But I wouldn't want to be, but I'd be a lawyer back in the UK because there are two types of lawyer in the UK. You have what they call a solicitor, which is the person in the office just doing the paperwork and writing the briefs and all the rest of it. And then you have a barrister. And the barristers are the ones that you see on TV with the wigs and the gowns and the ones making the argument in court.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all they do is stand up uh, and argue and try to convince the judge and jury. And that would be amazing. I wouldn't want to be a guy just reviewing contracts or something,
Mm-hmm.
or making sure that business dealers has the I's dotted and the T's crossed. So I don't know. I might do that. That's really interesting because I haven't really thought about what else I would do, what else I might have done for a long time. Um, it's really interesting. I'm really blessed with the fact that from the earliest I can remember, I knew I had to be an actor because that can really direct you and channel you. And just you do other stuff, but it's all working towards becoming an actor. Whereas a lot of my friends from college, they're doing well, they're perfectly successful, but it's almost random what they fell into, whether it's an industry like law or some aspect of finance or whatever. They could be doing that, or they could be doing something completely different. It's so I'm really, really lucky that just from the early stages I've known I've wanted to be an actor and really been drawn to it. So to answer your question, Michelle, I'm not sure I can genuinely imagine doing something other than acting. I was my side hustle for a long time was I worked as a tutor, like a private tutor. So I would help kids back in Europe apply to college in America, which
Mm-hmm.
is because I did that same path myself. And the application process is pretty different in important ways. So that was really fulfilling, helping young people achieve their best academically. So, teaching, tutoring, that is something that I've done beside acting that I really, really got a huge amount of fulfillment and gratification from. So there we go.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember you saying that you had gotten your degree in history. And
Hmm.
I thought, I'm like, well, probably like a professor is what I would have imagined that something that you would have
Yeah.
probably done to do with that.
Maybe like an Indiana Jones archaeologist,
Oh, that would be fun.
with the duster and the bullwhip and dashing around Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Except that right now we probably will be telling you don't open anything.
I know, exactly.
Leave everything where it is, walk away.
Yep, yep. Take a photograph if you want, and
Mhm.
then just leave it be.
Exactly. But, x-ray it from the above, do not touch it.
Yeah. Definitely.
Oh goodness. She also asks, when growing up, did you read books? And if so, what was your favorite?
Oh, I was such a bookworm. I don't know if we have that term in America, but we have bookworm in America, right?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Yeah. So and my sister would always say, "You were always such a bookworm. You always had your nose in a book." And so I really loved reading, and I mean, I still do love reading. But that was really an important part of my childhood. Reading, we have different books for children in the UK. So Enid Blyton is like a well-known children author from, I think she was writing like 100 years ago, but she has these series that are really popular in the UK called The Famous Five and The Secret Seven. And there were all these young boys and girls who go on these adventures and stop people from smuggling gold and doing all this cool stuff. And I just really remember being swept up in all those books and just devouring them in a single sitting. Yeah, reading was a really important part of my childhood, and I've really continued to do it. I think it's a valuable thing for students in general. I think the way it builds your vocabulary, the way it builds your imagination, the way it helps you learn to write really well, because you can just basically steal what other writers do and just start using it yourself.
Mhm.
I think, and then just being able to think and imagine worlds outside of your own. I think that just has really valuable skills for all of life. Putting yourself in other people's perspectives, in other people's shoes, being able to think, wow, I would not have reacted in that situation the way that lead character reacted. How would I have reacted? And then going off on that way.
Mhm.
Yeah, reading's central to my childhood. I don't think I ever thought I'd be reading for a living,
Mhm.
because what a dream job to be able to, first of all, read the book by yourself and then bring it to life for other people by doing all the voices and things. I never thought I'd be doing that. But one of my favorite things growing up was, I think with most kids, having my parents or my grandfather read to me growing up. And doing, they're doing voices as well. I think probably looking back, their voices were, maybe a little bit, you know, here and there, not necessarily, you're not hearing them on Audible. But yeah, that's one of the most enjoyable things, hearing someone read you a story.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you had your family or relatives read you the books and if they did the voices, because I think there's also those two types of readers where
Oh,
they'll be the one that just reads you the story and you can tell that there's maybe somebody else talking versus the narrative. But there's also some people that are just really get into it and they're
completely.
jumping around too and doing the swashbuckling.
I know. I'm lucky. My parents were that one. They weren't jumping around because I guess they wanted my sister and me to fall asleep.
True.
Um, but nevertheless, and I think if they didn't want to do the voices, I think my sister and I would like, do the voice, do the voice. And then they'd have to bring in you know, the wise old wizard or the kind of plucky young heroine. Because I think yeah, kids are
Mhm.
really, really interesting in that way. And that I think with kids sometimes, and I remember this for myself, the boundary between reality and fantasy is a little bit blurred sometimes. That's when you can just see a kid just imagining that they're a pirate. And I think honestly, they believe in that moment that they're a pirate, or really, really could be. And I think that's such a lovely thing. And I think sometimes adults can lose that because we have responsibilities and we have to devote time to other things. And I think reading can help bring that back just a little bit. Reading by yourself, reading to your kids, or having someone read to you.
With kids, it's the possibility. They
Completely.
could be the pirate or they could be the astronauts. Us as adults are going, well, there's no showers in the boats and people could get lost. And what about food? And you start
I
coming up
know.
with all these scenarios.
And how do I use the bathroom on a spaceship? No, 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 no.
Exactly. Yeah,
I'm
like
good.
really? I mean, how about the oxygen?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
They're
yeah.
just thinking it's like swimming but with no water.
I know. I love it.
Yeah, there's a perk to being that age and the sense of innocence.
Completely.
It's something that I cherish when I see the little kids running around and stuff like that. I can't help but almost play along with them. They're like, "What are we doing?" Like, "Oh, we're pirates." All right, then there we go,
Oh,
and
and
pass
there's
them that
no,
book.
and they slip into it instantly. There'll
Yes.
be one time just chatting, blah, blah, blah. Oh, can I get this ice cream? And then the next second they are a race car driver.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
that's, as an actor, that's really lovely to see because it's just the imagination firing.
It's the same thing with the audiobooks when we have you guys tell us the stories. And in one book, you're the billionaire, and the next book, now you're the rake. And it's like, okay,
Mm,
cool. It's very, universal from just the topics are a little different.
yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And every time it's such an exciting thing every time you open a new audiobook to think, what is this world?
Mhm.
What are we looking at now? Who's this guy? It's really exciting when you get sent a new audiobook. You'll maybe get a synopsis ahead of time. This is the world, and these are the two lead characters, but it's only when you get the book and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to get into this. Let me see what this is about. You get it with an audition for a film and TV thing, just to think, who is this guy? What's he about? What's his life story? How did he come to where he is right now? It's really a thrilling thing to be able to dive into the unknown like that.
So even after 11 years, because I know some people are like, it's probably used to it. So after all these time of you already years narrating, do you still get excited when you get those auditions or when someone says, hey, you've been recommended for this part?
Well, specifically with this film and TV auditions, I didn't used to like it. I used to get really nervous and stressed. So it's actually a fairly new thing that I now get excited for an audition. Um, but for audiobooks, I think probably a similar thing, because when I first started out, I would just get very nervous and think, oh my gosh, I really want to do a good job. And sometimes that can bring in a bit of tightness, or a little bit of, you know, sometimes if I'm really stressing about something, it can block the flow a little bit. But the more experienced you get, the more ease you find with it. And so now I'm probably I enjoy opening a new audiobook as much now as I ever have, probably more so, just because I am much more at ease with what I do. Um, so yeah, I think, to get that new audiobook is it's like opening a Christmas present. It's thinking, what is this? I have no idea what the surprise is going to be. And then you go on a journey, and
Mhm.
sometimes they're so moving. At the end, just to listen to the world that you've been able to create with an author. And it's great that it's really special to create it for an audience, but also just go through that journey yourself. I'm going through it myself as I'm narrating, and it's a real joy, a real blessing.
Val is a wonderful artist and a huge bookworm, as we like to call them.
Nice.
Yes, and she had a couple questions that because she loves your voices. She said, "I cannot believe I've been missing out on him," and I'm going, "You're welcome." Um,
Val, you're a star. Thank you.
Val asks, Americans get so swoony on British accents, and yet Europeans get to swoon on American accents. She was asking, when you are in your own country, do you practice the American accents and kind of have fun with it?
Mm. I don't really, to be honest, in the US, I generally walk around and talk in my US accent, just because it makes things a little bit. Everyone's going to understand you. You're not going to have anything lost in translation. Um, it's a funny thing as well. You're not likely to be. I've been in America for 18, 19 years, a long time, and I feel as American as I do British in many ways, even though I sound still very British, because I've literally spent half my life there, half my life here. Um, and it's nice to be able to walk around, talk as an American every so often. It's, or at least code switch or switch between. But I don't really do that when I'm back home. Um, you know, Probably for the same reason. It's just nice to just get in the flow of things and be part of a whole. Um, it's always been interesting to me why Americans love British accents so much, because it's not unknown that that's the case. And I'll tell you this: in New York, it doesn't really make much difference. I think partly because there are just a lot of foreigners in New York anyway. So it's just another accent, whatever. Um, so when you get Brits who turn up to New York expecting the girls to be falling all over them, and then the girls are just like, dude, whatever, you're British, it's no big deal. Just relax. The guys are like, oh, but I'm British, and then it's just awkward, and you're just like, please stop. Um, but for the rest of the country, yeah, if I had to guess, I would say it's because Brits maybe they have the reputation of being a little bit more reserved or something, and with that reserve comes a little bit of mystery.
Hmm.
Maybe it's the fact that they are associated with a sense of, history and, castles and palaces and, old buildings and things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Maybe it's, I don't know. It's just, yeah,
Yeah. Well,
I'm trying to think.
I think we all like different accents from what we're used to. Like
For sure.
when we hear the cowboy or the southern Savannah, Georgia accents and
Yes.
things like
Yeah.
that, or I'm not even gonna try the Boston accents because no, Scotland Yard. I think that's the only thing I can do.
Oh, that's pretty good. I like it. Wow.
Yeah. Well, I still say "ka" for been there one time many years ago, and that's the one thing it stuck. It's like yeah, I'm gonna go to the "ka."
God, I
Ka.
like it. I think that's one of the hardest ones to do, and they are so protective about the Boston
Yes.
accent.
Mm-hmm.
If you can nail it, then they're blown away.
Mm-hmm.
But I think their favorite game, people from Boston, is nope, that's not a Boston accent. I can't even do it. Wow, people are
Mm-hmm.
gonna yell at me. I hope Val's not from Boston.
No. No. No, but again, it just goes back to it's different than what
Yeah.
we're used to, and there is this elegance too, especially when it comes down to the British. I mean, when you were telling me about the different types of lawyers, I mean,
Mm.
even those sounds very fancy, and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
different
yes.
and like ooh, like we're like I'm a lawyer.
I know. They're like, well, I'm a barrister.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, fair enough. Viviana, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's just those little things, and you're like, ooh, really do tell me more, versus, oh, you're a lawyer. Okay, great. Is it
Yeah, yeah,
family or law? What?
yep,
Yeah.
yeah.
hmm When you have 30 minutes of free time,
Mm.
how do you pass that time?
Whoa, what a good question. I'll talk to my family. You give them a call, but just completely free time to do it by myself. I'm. This is going to sound very funny, but I'm just a fan of YouTube. If you just go down a YouTube rabbit hole, they have such funny things there. Like, what was I watching the other day? Just these. I'm not all about internet culture and like memes and 4chan and stuff, but it is so funny when you do cotton on to a specific meme and you just see it repeat itself and people riff on it. Those are really funny. I watch soccer highlights. I haven't really got much time to watch a whole game, but I watch soccer highlights on YouTube. Um, half an hour to myself, yeah, just half an hour to kill. Look, just put in a pot of coffee, sit with some YouTube, and just enjoy. Not very interesting. I feel like I should come up with something more, you know, more interesting. Like I'm coming up with my I'm working on my degree for astrophysics because I want to start a career as an astronaut as well.
No,
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 coffee and YouTube.
yeah. Well, I think also finding 30 minutes of free time.
Sure, sure.
And then not feeling guilty about it,
I know that's
you
the other
know.
thing.
Mm-hmm. Especially when you're, doing the books and the acting and all that other stuff, you're going, ah. So you said YouTube. So you have
Mm.
yet to discover TikTok then, huh?
I have not signed up for TikTok. I mean, my friends, we all send each other TikTok little samples, and some of them are unbelievably creative.
Mm-hmm.
And so well done. It's just like it seems like Vines. I'm sure they were
Yes.
big
The
5 years
shorter
ago,
videos. Yep.
but they were so short, and it would make you even more creative. But TikToks, they're like that's a good amount where you can actually have like a proper beginning, middle, and ends to something.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the dances are really, really mind blowing. And it's funny because you'll see, everyone doing it from huge movie stars to just, just random people. And yeah, it's really cool. But I'm not on it, and I'm not, creating videos. That I bet you that some of the best ones do not get churned out. There is a lot of work I think that goes into creating a really slick TikTok.
Oh my God. I am very tech savvy. I am the
Mm.
girl that figures stuff out before even it gets to be, trendy and stuff like
Yeah,
that, just
yeah.
ahead of all. And I'm not touching that thing with a 10-foot pole. I'm able to upload videos and I create them using other softwares and do
Mm.
it to 60 and upload it. But those transitions and some of the stuff like I'm going, it's 60 seconds worth of a video and you're spending 5 or 10 hours doing the one thing for the
Oh,
60 seconds. And I'm going,
yeah,
I do not have time for that.
I know.
I got to
But then
talk to
when they
you
turn out,
guys, listen
yeah,
to audiobooks. No way.
absolutely no. I think that's why it tends to be kind of college students and, people who are still studying because, I think they have a little bit more time than people who are trying to pay a mortgage, pay rent,
Yeah. Well, there's
kids.
this whole battle about like Generation X and boomers and millennials
Sure.
and Gen Zs are all in there saying, get off my app, like get off my lawn. Um,
That's hilarious. That makes total sense. Oh my gosh.
yeah, and it's just hilarious from that. There's just so many things, but there's similar to the romance genre. There's something for everybody on those apps, and learned a lot of different things from cleaning tricks to how to keep a plant alive.
Yeah, I love it.
To other things that we're not going to talk about now. Um,
I I like it.
but there's also a lot of narrators and authors that have joined. So there's like Book Talk, and
Mm,
there's been a lot of authors that have been, just having conversations and about their books. But the narrators have been really fun on there, and I'll send you
that's
some of those so you
cool.
can check it out.
I had no idea that they'll just narrate a little sample and then put it up.
Well, yeah, they'll do. There was one from Victoria May that was like she messed up on something and she couldn't say it the right way. She
Mm.
just turned on the video and she's like, "I'm for the past 10 minutes I've been trying to say this one fucking word."
Hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, Kelsey Navarro did a 4 episode, for TikTok episode of "So You Want to Be a Narrator" series.
Mm.
Yeah.
Clever.
So yeah, outtakes, those that have the live capacity have done live readings, but
Nice.
it's just a way to connect again in
Absolutely.
another
Stay in touch
different
with the
way and stuff
community.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that. But I'll send you those so you can check those out because those are
Oh,
funny.
perfect.
Yeah,
Nice one.
especially when they bust out with those almost like a meme, but an audio meme.
Yes.
It's like
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
strong and you can do whatever you want, but remember, your back is not strong. That was a Victoria
Reality.
May. Yes, you don't have to throw people under the bus. Be the bus. Um,
Oh, that's pretty. Wow. That sounds like
yes,
it should be on a mug or like a t-shirt.
I know. I was like, "Ooh, Victoria, I like you. I liked you
Be the
before, but
bus.
I like you more now."
Ah, that's like something Yoda would say. That's like some wisdom.
Yes. Speaking of the wisdom, have you ever had something happen to you that you thought was bad, but it turned out to be the best thing for you?
Hmm. Ah, man, I think that's probably part of life is that, you know, yeah, something at the time is really tough to go through, but eventually, as they say, makes you stronger. What doesn't kill you make you stronger. I'm sure there's a lot to be said in that. I wouldn't say I'm the type of guy because I think some actors, maybe some people in general, kind of look and like aim for the struggle, um,
Oh dear.
or the suffering. And that's not me. I think it's important to stay positive. But of course, yeah. I can't think of anything specific right now. Um, but I think that's part of life is, something that didn't go according to plan or something that unexpectedly happened that was really troubling at the time, problematic, even traumatic. That absolutely can in hindsight think, wow, that really transformed me for the better. And I came out the other side of it having learned a huge amount. Would I want to go through it again? No.
No.
But but am I grateful that it happened? Yes. I've absolutely had that experience. Yeah, for
Mm,
sure.
I think we all have. But
Yeah.
even I think with even you guys as narrators, this whole thing that we're currently still going through,
Mm.
like the home studios, a lot of you guys didn't have them before.
Complete one. Absolutely. I did not have one.
No, you were
And
setting yours up the last time we talked.
that's right. Exactly right. I think that was one of the first things I did after setting up my home studio was have a lovely chat with you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's been, yeah, transformational. Yeah, how
Mm.
you react to certain things is an important thing, and I really find for my own life, just gratitude for things. So that even if things are rough or tough, there is always things to be grateful for. At least in my experience. So to focus on those, I find really really valuable.
So in the books that you narrate, the characters all have different careers, rock star CEOs. Some of them are even outlaws or athletes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, if you can become one of your characters, which lifestyle would you like to
Mm.
lead and why?
Hmm.
That's another Val question there.
I know. Well, I don't know. Well, I do know what my answer is, but I just think they're not going to like it. Just like to be a billionaire. Wouldn't it be nice to just be a billionaire? And then you could just do whatever you wanted. You could help the world.
Hmm. Lots
You
of
just have,
things you can do that are positive with being a billionaire. So,
absolutely. And I think that would be pretty nice. Yeah, I think that would just give
mhm.
you the freedom to really contribute without having to worry about how you're going to pay rent that month or yeah. I'm trying to think what else. So I did a series recently, the Chaos Novella
Oh, Ashley,
series.
Kristen Ashley.
Exactly, yeah.
Uh,
And actually, I did that with Stella Bloom,
yes.
and we've done two so far, Wildfire and Wild Wind. And those guys are so badass. It's about a motorcycle club, an MC in Denver, Colorado, and they're amazing. They're probably like the alpha of the alpha type dudes. Um, but I don't know if I don't think I really want that lifestyle for myself. It's cool to dip into it for the book, but you know, I think what I haven't read yet
Hmm.
is an audiobook. And actually, here's getting a little bit meta. I think this would be a really cool audiobook. If there was an audiobook about an audiobook narrator, like a romance audiobook about a romance audiobook narrator, how funny would that be? Because that would be, and then maybe he falls in love or meets one of his favorite listeners. And then all of a sudden, they meet at a conference and, they stay in touch. I mean, what's more immersive than that for the narrator and for the listener?
I know.
I haven't read one like that yet.
No, we've had conversations with that. We're like, that would be so cool. We've said it's that it would be neat for the narrators to have be a character and then also have it be where maybe they fall in love with the listener.
Yeah.
There's also been another one that I've been helping in where we're just chit chatting and hanging out and talking. And we're like, well, it'd be kind of cool if they were two narrators that just like that friend, like enemy to
Oh,
lovers kind
come
of a
on.
thing.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just need an author to write it. I'll come up with the ideas. I'll
Oh
give you
my God.
premises.
That's amazing. That should be it.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh-huh.
oh my God. Yeah, I love it. That's hilarious.
It would be fun. It
Yeah.
would be interesting. There is Kaylee Loring just finished writing her book just came out and it's they're both the hero and the heroine are writers in different genres.
Mm.
And part of the book is the book that they're writing. And so they got other narrators to read these parts. And it was hilarious, especially
Wow.
when one of them was reading. So the narrator, the character is reading his parts. And all of a sudden it gets to a scene and the character is like, are you fucking kidding me? This is what you're writing me to do? Well, what is wrong with you? This is not something I would do.
That's
It's
hilarious.
hilarious. Yeah.
That's
She's a,
clever. I like
yeah,
that.
she's
Isn't
a
it
great
nice
author.
though when there's like humor and different things in a romance, and drama,
Hmm.
um, as well as the romance? That's really, really clever.
Yeah. Kaylee
Uh,
Loring, if you have not ever read any of her stuff, it's she does a lot of comedy,
yeah, yeah.
rom-coms and things like that. And I think that's a genre that it's very much attainable in some cases because we all have those moments where we're going, oh, that was kind of embarrassing. Anywhere else, though, would be hilarious if it wasn't happening to you.
If it weren't happening to you, that's probably the nature of comedy in some ways.
Yes, yeah. So,
I did one recently called Mr. Right,
mm-hmm.
but it's called Mr. Write,
Yeah.
and it's about this writer who goes on a journey. And I just had a sense that because he at one point he's having writer's block, and I just had a thought. I wonder if the person writing this has, worked some of their own experiences into this. I mean, it was a really beautiful book and really, really well written,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm sure every writer has had writer's block at some point. So I think there was a little bit of, meta going on there. It was cool.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely a conversation, too, that the readers and the listeners have asked the authors. So, about that scene.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How much research did you really do?
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, always trying not to pry at the same time. But there's some crazy stuff, and they're like, no, I just kind of thought it'd be fun for the author, for the alpha guy to do that and throw a punch in the bar. And I'm like, well, okay, never been there, done that, but sure.
Sure,
I'll
we'll
read
go
it.
with it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Here's a fun question for you. If you could have any animal as a pet, what would it be and why?
Wow.
Any animal.
I would love, or just realistically speaking, I would love to have a dog. Um, but they just, they're so, you can't just get a dog, just get a dog.
No.
It requires so much care and responsibility to kind of, you sometimes see people who leave their pets at home for 10, 12 hours, and it's just not really fair for the dog. I think cats are a lot more independent. You can just let them out and, I think you're basically staying at their house with a cat.
Yes. Hmm.
Um, but so I do really, really want to have a dog at some point.
Hmm.
But like outside of that,
Yeah.
um, I don't think it'd be fair to have like anything huge like a lion or a tiger, although that would be amazing. Um, I wouldn't really go the insect route, although some people love tarantulas and I don't think I'd go the snake route either.
Hmm.
Um, a bird might be interesting. Some people who can, take their hawks and, get them to do, you know, different things or get, do falconing or something. Um, the thing about I'm just gonna stick with dog because the thing
Okay.
about dogs is that, from what I understand, they've basically evolved with humans, so that their eyes have evolved to look more like humans' eyes. So we'll just identify with them more. Um, so I think, yeah, and I'm sure I will eventually get a dog. I just think that's another thing I'll watch on YouTube is I'll just watch, clips of, first of all, people just upload videos of their dogs just doing the funniest things.
Hmm.
Um, I recently came across this like just 24-hour live webcam of a bunch of Labrador puppies.
Oh.
I know, I know,
Puppies.
um, I know. Or just when you can look at different videos done by different breeders, so they'll tell
Hmm.
you about all the specific breeds. Like, this is what a Doberman is like. This is what a French Bulldog is like. This is what a pit bull is like. I just love it.
Hmm.
One of my friends went to, what do they call it? Like the Westminster Dog. Do they call it Westminster Dog Trials?
Yeah,
Um,
they're people. That's one of the awards shows for the pup for dogs. That they
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
pageants and stuff like that for the dogs.
Oh my God, it's amazing, and like the dogs love it.
Hmm.
And they're just you know prime physical, mental, everything. Um, yeah, it's beautiful to see. Like a dog who is you know loving life is just gorgeous to see.
Yeah, a happy
But
doggy is cute.
oh my God, yeah. So I think that's honestly what I go for. What kind of dog? I'm not sure. I really love Weimaraners, the
Mm-hmm.
gray ones with like the piercing eyes.
Yeah.
They're so intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
My grandparents had Dalmatians when I was growing up, and they're really intelligent but extremely hyperactive if you don't take them for long walks.
Yeah.
Um, I think Dobermans are like the most beautiful dogs. What else?
They all
Yeah,
have their thing, that,
completely.
yeah, that are all makes them cute and stuff like that. Like I know that anytime I see a puppy, I'm like, stop it, you're doing this on purpose. I'm not taking you home. Because they're cute on purpose.
I
And
know.
and when you get them and they still have that puppy breath, you're like,
Oh my
no.
God, and their
That's
soft
how I got the
fur.
last one.
Oh, do you have a puppy?
No, oh well, he's now a year old, but
Oh my
I got
goodness.
him, or it was around September of last year, and going to get dog food for my other dogs, and they're
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
a
yeah.
puppy thingy, and there was a litter of them. It was with him and his siblings, and
Hmm.
they were all rescued from Puerto Rico.
Oh my
But
God.
when if you're in a bad mood, puppies always make you feel better. Even if you're in a
Oh,
good mood, puppies make you just better.
completely.
So I had to go check them out.
How many do you have? How many dogs do you have?
I have 5.
5 is wow, good for you. You've got a pack.
I have a pack, yeah. Definitely a pack, and they're
Gosh.
interesting. But
Good for
that
you.
puppy, he got me good. All he did was
Really?
put his two front paws right up on my lips, and then he
Oh,
kissed me.
no.
Yes. And I'm like, son of a bitch.
There's nothing I can do. I
No, I
have to
can't.
take you home.
I do. Yes. And now he looks at me and he goes, yeah, you did.
That's gorgeous. He knew what he was doing.
Oh,
I love it.
yes. It's like, got her.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So no, the closest I have to a pet right now is YouTube videos.
Hmm.
But one day,
One day. Well, I think it's great to wants to have them, but it's
hmm
like you said, it's a huge responsibility.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
They are just as expensive, if not more expensive, than having a kid.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Holy. I mean, when one of them breaks their knee and has to get surgery for $3,000 plus
Come
almost
on.
4,000. Yeah, that was me last summer with Mocha.
Oh my
And then
goodness.
don't jump on the couch becomes a constant thing with her
I
now.
bet.
Yeah, so it's
Is
a
that how she broke her knee? Was getting on and off the couch?
no, she is a pit mixed with a greyhound, I think, just because of the body structure that she
Yeah.
has, and she loves to run. And I think
Mm.
it's just one of those, as they get older, they forget that they're not puppies like we do. Like
Sure.
we hurt ourselves because yeah, we can do this. No, no, we can't.
Yeah, yeah.
10 years ago, maybe, but not now. And it's just, it happens. And it's just one of those things now you have to keep an eye out. And like with anything, it's just constant care. And if they sneeze, like I said, it's like having kids and
Mm.
the diets and stuff, and it's expensive. And you recording is another thing. I mean, I do this
Oh
podcast
yeah.
thing every, couple of weeks on here. When I have to do the series, it's significantly more often, but at least once or twice a week, you're doing it significantly for longer periods of time. And I'm going, you will not bark. I don't care who's in front of my lawn.
Mhm. Yes.
you
No,
know.
completely. That's good. That's another consideration. By the way, I think someone should write an audiobook about like a dog breeder
Uh-huh.
or a dog walker.
Mm-hmm.
There should be more dogs, I think.
There are a
More
few
puppies.
out there. Yeah, there's a few. I know there's a couple of Hallmark movies that has that concept for the holidays.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The dogs get all rambled together, and that's how the two meets because their leashes got
Of
tied up together.
course. Oh my
It's
God,
like a Lady in
gorgeous.
the Tramp moment there.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Yeah. So if you could live anywhere in the world with no issues as far as finances, you can just pick anywhere to live. Where would it be and why?
Really, I'm living where literally the only place I would want to live right now is New York,
Huh.
and I just think it's the best place. Um, I grew up in central London, so some people really need nature to be able to go to the mountains or go to the ocean or go to hikes in the countryside. That that honestly, it sounds weird, and my friends who have had that lifestyle don't really understand it. But I really don't need to be in nature. Like I love it, and it's really nice to go and walk by the river.
Mhm.
Um, but for me, like walking alongside Hudson River in New York City
Mhm.
is like getting into nature. And and my friends are like,
Sci-fi nature sometimes, but okay.
sure, I know. And you've got like huge high rises on one side. You're walking on concrete.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, but there's water. That's
Mm-hmm.
Can you see the nature? That's water.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Central
think it's
Park, is
yeah.
another one.
And
Yeah.
actually, you can get into because it does get really quiet if you go into like this area called the Ramble. Like it can just all the traffic sound disappears, and sometimes it's just you, and it does get nice and quiet. I mean, like that said, it's not the mountains of Colorado or something. Um, but yeah, honestly, like I love New York so much, and I love the people here, and just the. I'm trying to think if there is anywhere that I'd rather live. Like not Los Angeles, like no thank you, but um, it'd be really nice to have a place somewhere outside of LA, outside of New York that I could just go and hang out. Like so, my friend used to live in Idaho in the
Mm-hmm.
mountains, and that's unbelievably beautiful. I've probably never smelt air as fresh as that. And in the summer you can go hiking, in the winter you can go skiing, snowshoeing. Um, yeah, but I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't want to live there. I wouldn't want to live there permanently,
Yeah.
or even somewhere like Fiji, with the beach.
No
It's just
Italy, no Sevilla, nothing like that. It's
no. I think I
good though.
honestly, New York, yeah. And how amazing is that I'm able to live in the only place I really want to live.
Yes,
That's a
that
blessing.
that is a blessing. That is totally a blessing. And I think
Oh,
that It's nice when that happens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm grateful.
Yeah.
No, I love it here.
That's good though, because that's where you are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you could be any Disney character, who would it be and why? That's a good question.
That's a really, really good question. Was that
Mhm.
is one of our listener questions, or
Yes,
is
it
that a?
is. Yeah, it's I've it's been asked once or twice by the same listener, and it's one of those like I told her I'm like I'm gonna keep it
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
it's a lot of insights at the same time.
I know, I know. Let me think. Disney characters. Um, I'll make a confession. I didn't even really watch a huge amount of Disney growing up. It wasn't like a big thing in my house, but I would say let's go with I don't know. The person who just popped into my head was the Beast from Beauty and the Beast.
Uh huh.
What do I like about the Beast? You know, it's
I can see it.
I think that, it's like a really, because he was, from what I remember, like a really handsome prince.
Mm-hmm.
And then he falls foul of a curse, right, from a witch or something, and then
And then
ends up.
yeah, an enchantress for being vain and not helping her out because of her
Oh,
looks.
yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. And then he ends up coming around and, gets after going through a journey, gets transformed back into a prince.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I think that's a nice journey. Um, yeah, let's go with the Beast.
Got it.
I'm just trying to find my beauty.
One day,
One
you
day.
know, like the song saying, the beauty will
Mhm.
come.
By the way, the music I listen to classical music a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and they played the theme from like an orchestral version of the theme from The Little Mermaid the other day on the
Yeah.
radio. Every single one, they're so extraordinarily beautiful. So
Yes.
many of those classic Disney songs, even the ones now, like I was tutoring these two girls like a couple of years ago, and they just were so into Frozen. It was the only thing that they Frozen, and then what's the other one?
Moana?
No,
The
it's not
Hawaiian
even a
one?
Disney one. It's with the little yellow guys,
Oh, Minions.
Minions. Like those two things. That's all they wanted to watch. Um, but the
Do that.
music from Frozen is like
Mm-hmm.
extraordinary, like really like beautiful. So yeah, that Disney music is yeah, gorgeous to
Yeah.
listen to.
I have the opening scene music on my phone as my ringtone for from Beauty and the Beast, the symphony
Oh,
version of it.
oh, gorgeous.
Yeah, it is gorgeous. It's one of
Yeah.
those things. Speaking of music, though, what song do you have to sing along with when you hear it?
Ooh, okay. That's a good one. Well, of course, the British national anthem, because I'm very, very, very proud Brit. But other than that, let's say um, there's an aria from the opera Tosca called E Lucevan Estelle, and it's one of my favorite pieces of music. And I'm not a singer anymore. I was when I was young, a boy, but not now. And that's really a gorgeous thing. And the best version is by Pavarotti.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's another thing I'll watch on YouTube. Is just different arias and Pavarotti highlights.
Hmm.
Um, there's uh, there's another singer who's really really lovely right now, a German tenor, and I can't remember his name. Um, but yeah, that's what I'll go for. We'll go with
Okay.
that
So
aria
we're
from.
never gonna really find you, singing at the supermarket at any of the fun new music out there.
The only time I really listen to kind of like new music is in the gym,
Mhm.
and but it does get you fired up for sure, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
To get your workout on. But no, I'm just not honest because it fires me up too much because the beats are so powerful and energizing. If you're walking down the street, it's hard to for me. I'm focusing so much on the music that I don't want to bump into someone or take a wrong turning. But yeah, just that's it. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
really just into classical music and stuff.
Yeah. Well, some places will play that. So now I'm envisioning that but happening where all of a sudden the music pops and you're going, oh, that's my jam. And it's Pavarotti.
Viviana, you just nailed my accent. Oh my goodness. I'm like worried for my job now. My
No,
audiobooks
no.
for you.
No, I can never do that job. I love narrating as you and what you guys do, but I am not that girl.
Well, you're a great interviewer.
Yeah, thank you. Speaking of interviews and stuff like that, what is your favorite word?
Whoa, my favorite word
Mhm.
is, you know, let's say mixture. Because growing up, I used to love what we call in England pick and mix,
Mhm.
which is this candy. Is it the same thing here, where it's just like bulk candy in those kind of bins, and you get the little shovel, and you just like pour like a ton of candy into your bag, and you just have, some gummies, and then you get some like chocolate raisins, and
Yeah.
then you get some chocolate pretzels, and
Mhm. The
um,
mixed kind, yeah.
oh my god, and we used to call that pick and mix, and that was literally my addiction, pretty much growing up,
Hmm.
and then so that's part of it, but then also mixture, like what's nicer than having like you know a mixture of different musical genres, or mixture of different audiobook genres, or yeah, it's just to have a bit of variety
Yeah.
is gorgeous.
Yes. And this is also where we go back to the whole thing with the accents, where you go mixture,
Ah,
and I'm going, you mean
yeah.
mixture? Okay, got it.
Yes,
It's a bit of variety. I'm like, oh, there he goes again.
nice.
Here's the yellow pages or the white pages. Just start reading.
Speaking of TikTok, though, there's this new TikTok my friend sent me yesterday of
Mhm.
this English guy it's so funny. He just says, these are the different words we pronounce in an English accent and in America. And then he just says, stuff like schedule.
Mhm.
And then he just like does a wink at the camera. And then he says tomato. And then just, does a like cheeky grin and just goes on for about 5 minutes just doing this thing.
Yes, and we're going.
Repeat
Yes,
tomato.
rewind to tomato.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's again, it's part of that allure and
Mm-hmm.
part of the fantasy, but also it just sounds different and sophisticated, and yeah. So we
Love
always
it.
go goo goo gaga over it.
Yeah.
What's your favorite curse word?
My favorite curse word. By the way, this is a question from. Did you ever used to watch Inside the Actors
I
Studio?
do. Yes, hence where I got it from. I love that.
Ah, come on,
Love
that's one
that
of my
show.
favorite things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then have you ever seen the Will Ferrell impressions of the guy of
Yes,
James Lipton?
I have.
Oh my goodness, he nails it.
He did.
Um, I just love how, first of all the actors are just so happy to be on there, because I sometimes think movie stars are a little bit reluctant to do interviews and things.
Yeah.
Um, but they're all, whether they're like Robert De Niro or Hugh Grant or Jodie Foster, like
Mm-hmm.
all these guys are just giving 100%, so keen to share everything about what they do is amazing. My favorite curse word is I think we're just gonna have to go with fuck. It's just so expressive, it
Mm-hmm.
can be an exclamation of shock
Mm-hmm.
or joy or terror, or like literally probably every human emotion can be
Yeah.
expressed flawlessly through that
Mm-hmm.
one word.
Definitely.
Yes, we'll go with fuck. Fuck. I love it.
Yes, I know. Now I'm gonna get asked a bunch of times. Can I get that audio clip of him saying that word? I'm
Clip
like,
it.
we could raise some money for charity.
Nice. What if I just did a TikTok of British swear words?
Oh gosh, that would be,
Go viral.
totally. It would be all of a sudden within minutes you'll have 1 million followers.
Nice.
Yes. Again, it's just all of it, the intonations, the accents, the way that
Mhm.
it's just said, and even like when you were saying the fact that it being cheeky,
Yes.
it's like
Yes.
yes, like yes, he was being cheeky.
Oh, funny.
Mhm. We have gotten to the point where we get to play a game
All right, let's
of
go.
two truths and a lie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where we have you guys tell us 3 things about yourselves, which, as the title says, 2 are true and one's a lie. But we have to figure out which one the lie is.
Okay.
So, if whenever you're ready, let us
All
tell
right.
us what those 3 things are, and then I'll try to get a guess.
Okay. Well, good luck, because these are pretty good. All right. Number one, I swam across the English Channel between Dover and Calais a few years ago. That's number one. Number two, I was a private tutor for the children for the former president of France. Number three, I uh, oh yeah, so I used to date a daughter of an NFL Hall of Famer. Do you like how I did those, by the way? Because I made them seem as though I was not sure.
Yes.
So to throw you off. See, that was pretty clever.
Yes, exactly. No, very good. And the first one, very British of you.
Thanks. Yes.
Like, of course he had to swim the English Channel. Of course he had.
Mm-hmm.
And then the private tutor.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness. Fuck. These are good. This is where I wish the listeners would be able to come in and we can connect on which one they thought would be
Yes.
a lie.
They
Ooh.
could live stream a
Mm-hmm.
like a chat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can I call a friend? Okay. Well,
So
see
we've
the
got swam the English Channel.
channel.
We've got dated the daughter of an NFL Hall of Famer, and we've got private tutor to the children of the former French president.
Mm-hmm. And considering that you have tutored before, that's these are all possibilities.
Mm.
So those are always usually the best to do versus outstanding ones. Oh my God. I want to say swam the English Channel was a lie from that specificness that you were saying.
Oh wow, well done.
Yeah.
I see. I thought that was the most plausible of them. Wow, you're pretty good, lie detector.
Thank you.
See, I would have thought that would be like, oh yeah, you hear about people singing in Shannon. It's not that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that. But the other two, yeah, you were absolutely spot on.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, again, is it possible that you were a tutor? Of course, you've done it before, and it's different too when it comes down to. I think and when it comes down to living in Europe versus here in the States, there's a difference in the titles and even sometimes those relationships within people that are in the government or more famous, I guess, than here. So that's possible. And dating the NFL, yeah, that's possible for you. British accent.
Nice. I didn't date the NFL. I didn't date the NFL player.
No, but the daughter. Yeah.
Not some 60-year-old guy.
No. I mean, no. That would not
No.
be good. No.
But yeah. Wow. Well, I have to say I'm impressed.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
I didn't think you'd get it, honestly, but you cut right through. My gosh. I think the FBI should hire you.
Well, research for the podcast and reading people. It's a gift.
Impressive.
Because sometimes, but a gift.
Yeah. No, very good.
John, before we go, can you tell us a little bit what's going on that you're currently working on that you can share, or what's coming out next?
You bet. So I'm actually really excited about both these things. There's a new book by Geneva Lee called X. And so it's really, really exciting. She has a series, and one of the most recent installments in that series is called Command Me. And this book, X, is told from the hero Alexander's perspective. And it's about this British royal heir to the throne and his very complex and very powerful relationship with an American woman living in London. So I'm excited for Val, for Michelle, for all your wonderful listeners to hear that. And then I'm also part of this trilogy that I think we might have mentioned earlier by Anna Durand. And there are 3 books in this series. It's called the Ballachulish trilogy, and it's set in Scotland. And the other 2 narrators who will do books 2 and 3, what? And then your number 1, Shane East.
I have a number 1. No, I don't.
Okay, few. Because I was feeling like,
no.
He's the number one.
No.
And I do a book, the book one in the trilogy called Lachlan in a Kilt. So I'm very excited for both of those. And then recent books that came out are the Accidental Peers series by Diana Quincy, which is a really wonderful series. I think there are 4 books so far, and there might be a 5th one coming out soon. And then the really awesome Kristen Ashley Chaos Novella series that I did with Stella Bloom.
Mm-hmm.
And there might be another 1 or 2 versions, installments for that coming out soon as well. All really, really excited. I'm just so happy with all these projects. Just really top quality stuff.
Yeah, no, and the Anna Duran one, she mentioned it in her reader group, that she was really excited because she was going to have 2 different British actors, not just Shane, and everybody's like, "Ooh, do tell."
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then when she named yours, I heard, I saw, well, again online, but I could totally hear Val and Michelle be like, "Woohoo!"
Love it. Oh, Val, Michelle, enjoy.
Yeah, so we're excited for those. Well, thank you, John, for returning to this year's Audiobook Lovin Series.
Thank you. Honestly, Viviana, really, it's a real pleasure to be on here, as always.
And everyone, thank you for hanging out with us today. And we're hoping you've enjoyed this interview as well as the series. And until next time, happy listenings.
The Audiobook Lovin podcast has special Patreon incentives. Join today to receive early access to podcast episodes, exclusive content with our guests, and much more. Support the podcast by becoming a Patreon at www.patreon.com/audiobooklovin. Thank you for your support. Thank you for joining us on the Audiobook Lovin Series, hosted by Viviana, Enchantress of Books. We hope you have enjoyed this episode as well as the series. We've included audio samples of our guests' work within the post for you to check out. Please make sure to visit the main page, link within the post, to learn more about the series, the authors, and the narrators. Please consider leaving a review wherever you listen to this series if you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure to follow us on our social media platforms and subscribe to the Viviana, Enchantress of Books newsletter. Until next time, happy listening. Audiobook Lovin hopes you've enjoyed this program.